What if you could have any past in your life? What if you could transform who you are now by actually choosing and creating a different past for yourself? What if you could change it? And how scary is that possibility? There's very few things scarier for a human mind than to lose its identity. Because for you, losing your identity means losing what you know about yourself and going into the unknown. And this is the most powerful ways of how your past actually influences your present and keeps you stuck in the past. It's by having these triggers, these emotional triggers that take you back there, simply like that. Take with you what you learned from it, but transcend it. The difference is you're not rejecting it, but you're also not staying stuck in it anymore. Don't make the mistake of rejecting the old one. I wanted to tell you today that what if it's possible? It is possible to change your past, and it's also very scary sometimes, but it can be life-changing and you deserve it. Welcome back to Talk the Walk, where we explore how to walk your journey of healing, growth, and transformation with more success, ease, and joy. Do you ever wish you could change your past? Many people have this wish that they could just go back in time and change what happened in the past. Change what they said in that moment or what they didn't say. Change what happened to them. Prevent something from happening or make something else happen. And then your life would be so much better. You'd be happier. You wouldn't feel all the regret you feel, or you wouldn't be in the difficult situation or patterns you are now. This is a very common desire. And today, I'm going to be talking about how you can actually change your past. And there are some of you that may right now be like, wait, Philip, I don't want to change my past, I have made peace with that. And I would say that's amazing. And there's a side to that which is beautiful and healthy, and there might also be a side to that which has made peace with the past, that has been forced to make peace with the past because you are not able to change it. So, my question for you is, what if you could change it? And how scary is that possibility? So let's dive right into this subject. And before we talk about how to change your past, we need to talk about why you want to change your past. What makes you want to rewrite the past? What happened to you? What you did? What you didn't do? What is it that makes you want to change that? And so it's usually one of two things. You either want to change something that happened to you, which has had a negative impact on you, and now because of that thing that happened to you, you feel that you have certain patterns, fears, blocks, and situations in your life that are harmful to you or are not what you would ideally want for your life. That's option A. And option B is you want to change not something that happened to you, but something that you did or didn't do. If only I didn't do that, or if only I had done that. And now because of that, there's something in your life that is not as you would like it to be. So these are usually the two scenarios where people would like to change their past. And in both scenarios, we can see that the reason why you would want to change the past is to change something in your present reality. Either something outside of you in your current situation, or something inside of you in how you feel inside yourself, how you think, how you behave. So in both situations, we see that the reason why you want to change your past is to change your present. And so the question is, what makes it not possible to change your present without changing your past? What makes it that you have to change the past to be able to change the present, to be able to change how you feel now, to be able to change your situation? What makes it so? And this is probably where those of you who have made peace with your past are telling me right now, see, Philip, that's exactly what I was saying. You don't need to change your past. You can change the present. Yeah. And that's right. That is right. You don't need to change your past to change the present, right? Well, then what makes it that you are still stuck in so many things or some things in your life in the present, even if you've tried to change them? Why are you still feeling that way or behaving that way? Why are you still stuck in that situation or that kind of relationship or that financial situation or that habit, that pattern? Why are you still stuck in that? If it's just so easy as to change the present and forget about the past. So I'm trying to tease you in both ways. For those of you who just believe that, oh yeah, I definitely need to change the past to be able to change my present, I'm trying to challenge you and have you think, is that actually necessary to change the past to change your present? Or is it possible to change your present in the present and your future as well? And for those of you who think it's not necessary to change the past to change the present, then I want to challenge you. Is it actually not necessary? Or do you actually have to work on something that we could call the past in order to change the present? And if you don't do that, as much as you try to change the present, you will always come back to the same, because the root cause is in the past and you still haven't changed. So I want to challenge both of those views, and we're going to find today the balance, the right in-between point that allows you to change your present and your future, change your life, both outside and inside of you, in the present, without having to actually change the past, but also acknowledging the impact of the past in the present, and also working on that impact. And even, who knows, actually changing the past. So think about a situation in your life, something in your life right now that you would like to change, and you struggle to change, and you believe that the cause of that is something that happened in the past. And think about how the past created that situation, how it's because of whatever happened in the past that now you are in that situation, that now you feel that way, that now you have that fear, that block, that pattern. Think about how one thing created the other. And now observe that link. What is it? What is it made of? And as you think about that, you might start to notice that what that link is made of, it's made of a group of internal factors inside of you that were created in that moment in the past or through that past experience, but exist now in the present. And that's why they influence your present now. So whether it is a fear of opening yourself to relationships, whether it is a tendency to go into self-sabotage when things are going well, whether it is any other situation in your life, it's something inside yourself, that pattern, that tendency, it's a pattern inside yourself. It's an emotion that's coming up in the present, that's existing in the present. But the origin of that structure has been created in that experience and has been present with you through time until now. So observe that. Observe that whatever is the link that you see inside of you, and ask yourself, what makes it that I'm unable to change this right now? What makes it so hard to change it? So when you observe it closely, you understand that the way that this is happening is actually that you are usually unconsciously transporting the past into the present. What do I mean by this? So for this, you need to understand a little bit how emotions work. And the way that emotions work is they are made to function fast and subconsciously and automatically to help you. And they function based on triggers. So emotions are triggered by certain situations and patterns in life that when you encounter them, they resemble something that has happened before. And your emotions automatically detect that same similar pattern or what they think is a similar pattern. And to save time and energy, instead of thinking about the entire thing again and deciding the proper way to react, what they do is they detect the similar pattern, and so they memorized the way that you reacted the last time, and they triggered exactly the same way of reacting. So it's like they have a button that they press inside of you, imagine that, and once that situation happens, they press that button and it's like you are back in that situation. Maybe when you were 3 years old or 5 years old or 7 years old, it's like you are back there and then, and you are reacting the same way. And you're not reacting to the actual present situation anymore. You are reacting back to the original one as if you were still a child, as if you're still in that situation. So this is how our emotions have been designed to work. And the intention is to help us react faster and save time and energy. But that also has a very big downside, especially as we evolve and grow in consciousness, which is that we lose the ability to be in the present and change the present and respond appropriately to the present situation. And instead we are transported back to the past. And this is one of the most powerful ways of how your past actually influences your present and keeps you stuck in the past. It's by having these triggers, these emotional triggers that take you back there, simply like that. And so it's easy to think that, okay, then if I could only change my past, if that thing didn't happen to me, then I wouldn't have this trigger. And then I wouldn't react this way every time, right? Or if I hadn't done that reaction, if I had reacted a different way, now I wouldn't be doing the same every time. So it's easy to think that, okay, if only I could change my past, then I could change my present and how I am responding to my present and how I am creating my life around me through my reactions. So let's dive deeper into that. And for that, we need to look at, is it impossible to change that trigger now in the present, even though it was created in the past? Is it impossible? And the truth is, of course, if we're talking about it, it's not impossible because the trigger is still present with you in the present. It is existing now. So it's now that you can work with it. You don't need to actually go to the past to change the past, like physically, to change the trigger, because the trigger exists in the present moment and you can work with it in the present moment. Now, it is not easy for sure, because emotional triggers are deep and usually subconscious, and you need to learn how to get there, how to work with them. And there is a process that we will briefly talk about here today. We will help you start doing that process. And I definitely invite you to check out our courses at starsoulschool.com, where we offer much deeper guidance, coaching, courses, and support on doing this process in a much deeper way and more effective way. So the way that you can do that is you have to start looking deeper inside the trigger. And what is the trigger made of? So the trigger, if you start looking inside your emotional triggers, they are made of, most of all, of stories or narratives and beliefs behind those stories and narratives. And inside those stories and narratives, what is extracted from that creates the emotion is the meaning, are meanings. So your emotions function based on meanings created through stories in your mind or narratives created from deep underlying beliefs. That's what's inside the trigger. So the way to start understanding and diving deeper into these triggers and then transforming them is exactly by going here. But you just don't want to think about it in your mind. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people do when trying to change their triggers from the past, or in another way of saying it, trying to change their past, is just doing things in their minds, like intellectually. Okay, in my past I had this and now I have this belief, so now I'm going to try to think in a different way and pretend that what happened was different, or, just use affirmations to think about it in a different way. And that actually doesn't work that well. And here's why. Because as I've said, the core, the link that holds together the past to the present, the glue that sticks your current reactions to the old ones, the glue is made of emotions. It's not made of thought. It's emotion. And emotions are the glue that keep those memories and from the past coming back to the present and associated with that pattern that you find. And so that keep you reliving and recreating the same past in the present. That's emotions. So just thinking about it is not going to work. You have to go through the emotional experience to get there, to really get to the core, to the place where you can work on the subconscious root causes of your triggers. And so the key here is that instead of just wanting to think about it, the first step is you want to identify which emotion is being triggered. In that situation that you want to change in your present and that you feel was created by your past, what is the emotion that is being triggered? Is it anxiety? Is it anger? Is it fear, sadness, helplessness? What is it for you? And then what you want to do is you want to start connecting with that emotion. You want to allow yourself to feel it, to be present with that emotion. And that is usually the most difficult thing for people. And this episode is not about that. I have other episodes where I talk and teach you how to feel and connect with your emotions. And above all, you have a lot of guidance and help on how to do that in our courses. But what you want to understand now is that's what your first step needs to be, is to feel that emotion, to connect with it. And as you connect with that emotion and you open yourself to the emotion, then the emotion will also open itself to you and will start revealing to you what is it made of? What is the trigger made of? What are those underlying root causes that are making it come up like that? And so the easiest part to start, or when you first connect to the emotion, the easiest place to start is to start with the story or the narrative. Because that's usually the most conscious part of the experience, which is, okay, what am I telling myself about this situation? What is the story that I'm telling myself that is happening right now? What is the narrative going on in my mind? Ask yourself that and just listen to what you're telling yourself about the situation. I'm telling myself that this person did that because they disrespect me, or that they reject me because I am worth it. I'm a piece of shit, right? Or any other example. I'm stuck at my job because this is just how the world works and there's nothing I can do about it. So always ask, what is the story? Start there. And it's interesting because you already start realizing how much of this story that you're telling yourself in the present resembles a story that you told yourself in the past, or a story that you have been told in the past, which is the past that you're recreating now in the present. So the story is the first step. And then you want to, from the story, extract in a simple sentence, what is the meaning that your emotions are deriving from that story. So the meaning is like, if you put all that story together, what does it mean to you? What does the story mean to you, about the world, about reality? Because that meaning is that you're constructing through the story. That meaning is going to be the actual trigger of the emotion. And this is important for another episode, but this is very important to always remember that your emotional triggers are never about what happens outside of you, what happens to you. It's always about the meaning that you or your emotions create about what's happening. Okay, that's the real trigger. So you want to ask, okay, what's the meaning that I'm getting from this story that I'm telling myself? And the meaning might be, I'm worthless. I will never be loved. Life is meaningless. People don't like me. People are bad. I am bad. So usually it's like a simple one sentence meaning, and that's what you want to get to. And once you get to that meaning, it becomes very clear, very easier to see and go deeper into the underlying beliefs that are creating that emotional trigger. Often those beliefs are almost identical to the meaning that you are deriving from the story. The beliefs of I'm worthless, or often beliefs about like what you should and shouldn't be, what you can and cannot be, what you can and cannot express, what's safe for you to feel, what's not safe for you to feel. Those are usually the beliefs. And so once you get to those beliefs, that's where the deep work can start. And that's almost where you can start changing your past in that way. So that you don't want to just do what some people do when they get to the beliefs, which is, oh, I found my belief, so now I'm just going to change that belief like that. I believe that I cannot, I don't deserve to have money, so I'm just going to think differently now. I'm just going to think I deserve to have money. Okay, good. Usually that doesn't work, right? And you probably know that, because there's still a deeper cause. And yes, you want to change the beliefs in the present. You don't need to go to the actual past to change those beliefs. You can change them and should change them in the present. But you also cannot ignore how those beliefs were created and where they're coming from. Because if you ignore that, it's like you can try and change those beliefs now, and you might even be slightly successful. But the core memory, the core experience, or the original event where those beliefs were created is still living inside of you. And so because of that, it's going to still be recreating the same beliefs over time. And that's why even if you do it just that way, if you just change the beliefs like that, it's not going to be long-lasting transformation. And after some time, you're going to get back to the same. Because the deeper root cause, if you want to call it the engram or the marked experience in your subconscious mind, is still living there, still having the same meaning for you, for that part of you that lived that is stuck in that moment. And so as much as you change your beliefs in the present, you still have that past bringing back the same old beliefs, and so bringing back the same old patterns and the same old stories. And so this is where you ask, okay, so I'm helpless, right? I cannot change the past. I cannot change what happened to me. So I actually cannot change anything, right? And I'd say, now this is the part where we need to think about actually going to the past and changing it. But the thing is, when most people think about changing the past, they think about actually physically changing, going to time travel into the past and changing it there. But the interesting thing is that that past actually doesn't exist, and it never existed except in your mind, except in your interpretation of the events, in your personal experience. And so that past is actually existing in the present, because that interpretation, that experience is still inside of you right now. It's just stuck in some dark dungeon of your mind that usually doesn't see the light of consciousness, but you can still go there with skill. And if you know how to do it, you can still go there and transform that experience that you call the past. But that's where you actually need to go and time travel to the past. However, your time travel machine is not an actual physical machine. Your time travel machine is your awareness, is your mind, your consciousness, and the fuel is your emotions. Because your emotions, again, are the glue that keeps that memory stuck to you with that meaning. And it's by following your emotions that you can go to the past, in the present, and transform it there. So this is actually an important concept for most of you to understand, because most people have this idea that the past is what happened and it's what happened and it cannot be changed. But usually whatever you call the past is actually also just another story that you tell yourself about the past. It's not actually what happened. It's an interpretation that usually your child mind made of whatever was happening in the situation. And it is very life-changing to realize that whatever you see as the past that happened, it's actually not facts of what happened. It's an experience, a personal experience and a personal interpretation of what happened. And that is what can be changed. That is what you can go back to the same place by following that emotional bridge. Don't do this again, don't do this just intellectually, just thinking about it and forcing it, but by actually connecting through the emotion. What you have to understand is, if you're living the past in the present, so if you're recreating your past in your present life, it's because there's a part of you that is frozen, that is stuck in the past and still living there. And that's the part of you that you can access when you connect to the emotion and you do this work. And then that memory comes up naturally. And that's the part of you that you can access. And once you are with that part, now you have a very powerful moment. You have the power to bring awareness, a bigger awareness, more perspective, more consciousness to a moment that had little awareness and that had only one perspective, fixed perspective. It was fixed before. You were maybe a small child. You could only see things that way. Maybe that was the only safe way that would allow you to survive, to see things that way. But once you unlock that memory and you can go back to it, which is actually not going back to it, it's bringing it back to you. That's more how I like to think of it. Now you have the incredible power of bringing a different, higher, more expanded awareness, consciousness to that moment, to that experience. And that is what will allow to transform the meaning and the beliefs that came from that experience. It's a different awareness. It's by going back to that moment and seeing, oh, now I can see that what actually happened was that my parents didn't do this because I was worthless, because I am not allowed to have needs, but because they were overwhelmed and they couldn't even have their own needs, and their parents also didn't allow them to have their own needs. And now I can see that my needs are never the problem, and it's actually safe for me to have my needs. And so that's the first part. The first part is the awareness, the different awareness that you bring to the event that completely shifts how your emotions perceive and the beliefs that are created. And then the second part is then how you show yourself, how you show the part of you that is stuck in the past, how you show that whatever they believe is actually not true, or not true anymore. So maybe they believe that it's not safe for you to have needs, and you will realize that, and you show them, no, now it's safe for me to have needs. Now I'm here. Now I love myself. Now I can have those needs myself. Now you allow yourself that experience. And that's where the cultivation of unconditional self-love and inner safety is essential. Because it's as you bring that unconditional self-love to the part of you that feels unlovable, that it feels, oh, I'm actually lovable. That's crazy. And everything changes. Okay. So this is how you change your past. It's by realizing that it was never your actual past. It was just an interpretation, and bringing that awareness to it, transforming it that way is what allows you to transform your past with very powerful impact in the present. Now, we can go even deeper here, and this is a place where things get actually even more interesting, which is, okay, that was just an interpretation. But the fact is that maybe my parents did abandon me. Maybe my interpretation of why they did it was not actually true. But there's a fact. I remember they actually did that. So that's something you cannot change, right? And what if it can be changed? What if you could have any past in your life? What if you could transform who you are now by actually choosing and creating a different past for yourself? One that normal people would say never actually happened. So this idea that we have as humans of linear time, once you start exploring that through meditation, through deep insight, you start realizing that it's actually just another illusion. And we have been conditioned to believe that we only have one past. But it's only one of the multiple pasts that we can have. Everything in life is mind. Everything in life is memory, imagination. Everything in life is a product of our consciousness. And the past that you think happened, it's also that. It's just what we believe to have happened. But imagination is as real as reality. Reality is made of imagination. Everything that ever existed had to be first imagined. So, what past could you imagine for yourself and make it so real in your imagination that it would make the person that you want to be now inevitable? Think about who you want to be. Think about the life situation that you want to have, how you want to behave, how you want to feel. What would have had to happen in the past for you to do that in the present? And then imagine that past having happened to you. Imagine you having done that, been that in your past already, as if it had already happened. And make it as vivid as possible, as real as possible in your imagination. Feel it as if it had already happened. Feel yourself having been there. Feel those memories. And let me tell you something, if you do that in your meditation, you make it as vivid as possible, for your body, for your mind, for you, it will become as real as if it was real, because it was real. Everything in your past experience was just a mental experience. Was in your mind, it was a conscious experience. So you have the power to create different new conscious experiences that can shape who you want to be. So what if you could create any past? And what if you think of the past and of time not as something linear, but like space? It can go back and forth to the sides, up and down. And what if there are multiple timelines, multiple pasts that you can have, and all of them are accessible to you right now, and you just need to choose the one that most benefits you right now? And that's real. That already exists there in whatever you can call a parallel reality, different timeline, whatever you want to call it, but it's as real as the current one. What if you can tap into that potential, into that other version of you and bring it to the present as well? That is as real as anything else. And that is something that you can do as well. And that is changing your past. That is changing your past. Actually changing your past. Because when you change your past that way, when you bring to yourself the version of you who is already that way, who has already experienced those things, then it becomes inevitable for you to become the person that you want to be in the present. Because it's just a natural thing to happen. And right now, you just feel that it's so difficult to be that person, to have that life, because whatever story you're telling yourself about your life story until now, your life direction until now, the narrative that you tell yourself about, oh, this is my life, this happened to me, then this and this and this, and now this is why I'm here. So very often the thing that's actually limiting yourself is the story that you believe about your past. But how free would you be if you could actually change that story? If you could imagine a different past and have that different past be as real as the one that you have right now? How will that change who you are now? How will it make it not only likely, but inevitable that you become who you want to be and that you have the life that you want to have? So that's what's possible when you do that. And if you feel resistance, if you feel something inside of you resisting that idea, let me tell you, that's very natural. And all kinds of logical reasons might be coming to mind as to what that's not possible to do or not even advisable to do. And there are two sides to that. So there are some reasons why it might not be advisable to do in a certain way, and I'll address that later. But the other side of that is most of that resistance might actually be a fear. And let me explain this to you. Your story that you tell yourself about your life is also the story of who you are for you. It's what makes up your identity. You have become the person who has lived that story. You have become the person who has those patterns, and that's how you see yourself now. It's your identity. And there's very few things scarier for a human mind than to lose its identity. Because for you, losing your identity means losing what you know about yourself and going into the unknown, and the unknown can be scary. It means maybe losing your social position, your friends, how others see you. It means maybe being abandoned and rejected because the identity that you have now, as limiting as it might be, you have found a place for it in your life. But losing it is scary. So this is actually your identity or your ego fighting for its survival, fighting to not change. It wants to stay with that. You want to continue having that story. And so what's happening here is actually a fear of what you will feel if you let go of that story that makes up your identity and if you embrace a new story. Because it feels like a death. It feels like a death. It's the death of an identity. And the only way that you can actually make that transition and change your life in that way is to allow that death to happen. And that means to welcome all the emotions that come through that death. Confusion, grief, sadness, anger, frustration. If you're afraid of those emotions, you can never let go of your old identity and your old story and create a new one. But if you learn how to welcome all of those emotions, then you'll be able to welcome that death and be able to let that old identity not just die, but transform into the new one, grow into the new one. And the key here is learning how to welcome all emotions, which again is one of the key concepts and practices that I teach you here in the podcast, in the courses. So we have a lot in that. But that is the key. And that also brings up the other side of this, which is you want to go through that death, but it doesn't mean that you have to reject this story, this identity, the story of this one. Because that is the other side. And that is the way of doing it that would be unhealthy, that I want to warn you about. So this is not about running away from your current story and your current identity, because that's just another form of emotional avoidance. Or some people would call this bypassing. That can be a form of bypassing, positive bypassing, spiritual bypassing, which is not what we want to do. We are not trying to run away from or avoid your current story, what happened to you in the past. That's not what we want to do. And if we do that, actually, you're going to find out that it doesn't work and you end up creating even more of the same story. Because if you're trying to create a new story to avoid the emotions from the old story, the situation from the old story, then it's just how we talked about this, this golden algorithm, this almost rule where whenever you're trying to avoid an emotion, you end up creating more of it in your life. And that's going to happen because the reason why you're trying to create your new story is to avoid the old emotions. And so because that's your reason, your mind, your brain, your body, your energy focuses on avoiding those emotions, and whatever you focus on grows. So eventually you'll be creating a story that brings more of those emotions up. And that's definitely not what we want to do. So this is another key that I wanted to touch on today is when you change your past, you don't want to do that as a way to avoid your current past or whatever you feel is your current narrative. It's an expansion of that one. But you still want to have that. Because remember, you can have any past that you choose. So why not have all of them? If every past teaches you something, and the past that you have in this timeline, in this experience, was for a reason, and it taught you something, so why reject it? include it. Take from this past what you learned from it. So if this past led you into toxic relationships, don't reject it. Take with you what you learned from it, but transcend it. The difference is you're not rejecting it, but you're also not staying stuck in it anymore. You are taking with you what it taught you, but you are transcending it and going into something else, into a bigger version of you, into a more expanded version of you. And that's the key that I wanted to share with you today. So still, as you transform your past, as you reimagine it, as you create a new version of you, don't make the mistake of excluding, rejecting the old one. Don't do that. That's going to be worse. Include it, integrate the old one. Don't let it be the only one. Just integrate it and bring it along with you. And that is going to be much better, much more powerful for your life than just the new one. Because let's say like your old version was someone who didn't feel worthy, and your new version is someone who attracts healthy, loving relationships. But if you just reject the old one, you're not going to have learned anything from it. So you want to bring that with you. And your new version can actually be someone who actually attracts the new, healthy, loving relationships and has done that for your whole life. That can be your new past. But also you have also the other past of someone who didn't do that and who attracted toxic relationships, and you learned from it. And it's more powerful, more enriching, and more expanding to bring both paths with you rather than just reject one and just choose the other. So that is what I wanted to tell you. And always remember that when you change your past, when you change your story, your narrative about yourself, your old reality is going to try to bring you back to it. And if you feel that happen, that's exactly where you need to go through. Face that with curiosity, face that with wonder, go into that, okay, I'm changing my story, I'm changing my past, so now my reality is going to present me with tests, with challenges for me to actually strengthen, reinforce this new version of me, this new story, this new narrative of who I am. And welcome those. Don't fight those. The old people in your life, they will be confused. They will try to bring you back to the same version that you were, because that's where they feel safe. That's where they know, that's their known. So by you changing, you're kind of forcing them to go into the unknown themselves, and they will resist that. And well, it's not something that you cannot change. So all you have to do is to go into that. Do not reject that they will do that. Accept that they will do that and use that as another opportunity to reinforce your past and stay there. And let those relationships transform as they need to transform. And some people will, after some day, some time, maybe some months of you holding that state, they will eventually adjust to the new version of you. And some people may not, and they may leave your life. And that's the cleansing that is needed for your new life to emerge. So these were the thoughts that I wanted to share with you today about. This question just came up to me because I was thinking about it, and I thought, yeah, that's something that some people ask, and something that people like secretly desire inside themselves. They want to change their past. So I'm going to talk about it today. And these were the thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Because I know that even if you tell yourself that you don't need to change your past, like, no, I made peace with my past, I know that secretly inside of you, there's some part of you that was like, oh, if I could, if it was possible. And a big part of that making peace might actually be a coping mechanism that you have to deal with the fact that you haven't been able to change how you are yet, how you feel about it yet. And so you just tell yourself, oh, the past is just the past. That's how it is. I cannot change it. So I'm just going to accept it. And that is a way to have less stress in your life when you don't know how to change it, how to actually transform that in your life. And it can also be a strategy of your identity, ego, self to not change, right? Oh, let's just accept the past. So it can also be an emotional avoidance strategy. And so I wanted to tell you today that what if it's possible? It is possible to change your past. And it's also very scary sometimes, but it can be life-changing and you deserve it. And if you are on the other side of the spectrum where you're like, I just want to change my past, I don't care about anything, I just wish I could, then you can. But don't do it to run away from your present emotions, because if you do it that way, you'll end up creating more of that. So I would say before, if you are in that other side of the spectrum where you just want to change your past so much, what I would tell you is first, you actually need to learn how to make peace with your present, how to make peace with the past that happened to you, and then you can change it. And the way that you make peace is first by accepting those emotions that you are feeling right now, loving them, and then doing the first part of the process that I taught you, which is to go back to that situation and bring a different awareness to it, a loving awareness to it that helps you change how you see that. That's the first level. And then you can actually start imagining different paths and making them real and bringing in different versions of you from the potential energy of the universe and all timelines and everything. Because then you'll not be doing that as a way to run away from this life, from this past, but as a way to expand yourself and reintegrate it and just be more of you. And that's the key difference. So have fun rewriting your past and have fun loving your past as well and become who you want to be. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talk the Walk. If you enjoyed it, like us and send it to someone who you think will like it too. We love your feedback and interaction, and you're welcome to leave us a comment or review, ask a question, or just reach out. Lastly, if today's conversation stirred something in you, remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. Our Star Soul Skill community is where these conversations continue, where you can connect with others on similar journeys and access the courses and support designed to help you integrate this work into your daily life. You will find everything at starsoulschool.com, and the link is in the show notes. See you next time.